Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really mean to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, business, mindset, and real estate. If you are just like me and you want to crack the code to victory, then Winning Ways podcast is made for you. Yo, welcome back to Winning Ways with Fred. My name is Federico and I am your host. Guys, special show for you guys today. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about crypto, the blockchain, and much more. But first and foremost, guys, please, if you guys like the show, if you find value, please share it. That's the way we're going to grow the show. When we become a top 3 show all time, it's going to be grown via word of mouth, no ads, none of that. So now, without further ado, Michael, how are you, man?
Federico, thanks for inviting me on. And I don't want you to go low as 3. You need to be like a number 1, number 2 show.
Yeah, that's a plan. But, for now, we're shooting for top 3. And then once we get to top 3, we'll become the number 1.
Fantastic.
Awesome, man. So, Michael, walk us through. Very interesting show. A lot to talk about, short time. And we're going to try to cram it all in. I want to start off with your career, your how you combine the blockchain and real estate and how that's going to be the future of real estate and how transactions are going to be done. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, sure. I started out in real estate in the 1980s, and the major communication tool and the whole brand new thing was you had to pay for long distance and local separately, and the big new communication tool was a fax machine. So, and I had some younger guys make fun of me at a conference this year. I handed them a card. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, do you got a card? They're like, oh man, we'll just fax you our card. I'm like, shut up, you. It was funny though. Yeah. But anyway, so I've been around for a long time. We've done institutional real estate. We've done primarily commercial real estate. A lot of shopping centers. We were some of the first, investors in the country actually taking malls and demalling them, which is tearing them down. So that's, kind of how I've been in the real estate industry for a while. And then, right around, actually somebody, mentioned to me Bitcoin around 2014. And I went to a public school, so I don't do math. So I didn't understand what Bitcoin meant. And, I was primarily focused on real estate. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just do a hard asset? I don't understand this whole, computer programming stuff. Yeah. And so later on, I'm also a resident of a startup country in the middle of Eastern Europe. It's called Liberland, and the libertarian startup country. And the entire country is on blockchain. So all the governments and everything is on blockchain. So then I started meeting some really super interesting people that were deep, innovators in blockchain, in crypto. Some of the people that, were like some of the first people into crypto and into Bitcoin and working on this stuff. And along with that, I did some consulting on an ICO for some guys that were, doing a real estate ICO out of Romania. And so that's how I'm like, these guys raised $750,000 to $1.2 million without really knowing anything about real estate with an ICO. So it's like, why can't I do this? And so that's when we went down the rabbit hole and started to figure out how to do this legally, because you really can't do an ICO in the United States, especially since you've got nexus with real estate. So I hope that wasn't too convoluted, but that's how a real estate hard asset guy got into cryptocurrency.
So just so my audience know, what is an ICO?
An ICO is an initial coin offering. So like when Dogecoin came out, or Ethereum was actually the first ICO. Okay. So Bitcoin just kind of bootstrapped it and, kind of was the first one out there to like figure it out. And when Ethereum came along, they did an ICO and raised all kinds of money up front in order to, provide for the development. So that a lot of these other, they're not quite companies, but like Avalanche and Algorand and those guys all came out with an ICO, which is an initial coin offering, versus some of the other, and I can't name, but there's a few other ones that were more organic and grew like Bitcoin did as a network.
Awesome. Awesome. So just before we dive deeper into that, you've mentioned that you're part of a country that's being established in Europe called
Liberland.
Liberland. I haven't
Yeah.
heard of that. That's very interesting. It's all the government runs on the blockchain and it's being formed as of right now. Can you talk about that a bit? Because I'm new to that.
It is a startup country. It
Okay.
is in between Serbia and Croatia.
Okay.
This enterprising guy, Vit, out of the Czech Republic, saw that there was unclaimed land. It's an island in the Danube. And so he founded the country Liberland and put the flag down. And there's probably representatives, I want to say, in more than 100 countries now. And you could become a citizen, you can become a resident. So you can right now go to Liberland. I think it's liberland.org, and register to become a citizen. But you can get your residency, and then you earn credits towards citizenship by doing certain things to help out Liberland.
Wow. That is very interesting. You're going to look into it after this call.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really spectacular and cool people in it.
Awesome. 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 So now that
And I'm
crypto
going to
is,
interrupt you one more time. There's also the Liberland metaverse too. So when we have our anniversary and meetings, we do the meetings in the Liberland metaverse.
awesome. That's interesting. You know, I dove deep into the metaverse last year, got super into it. And I think it's the future, but it's developing right now, right? There's still a lot of work in progress, just like crypto. I think it's here to stay. There's going to be a lot of projects that are probably not going to be around long run, but some will. So with that said, what's the future looking like with blockchain and real estate being combined? How is that going to be a form of investment for the regular Joe like me?
Okay. Just to give you an idea, the asset size of real estate is by far the largest asset class in the world. So like all crypto is probably right now like $1.5 trillion, maybe $1 trillion total market cap. Stocks are, a few trillion. Bonds are a really big, quite a few trillion. But real estate as an asset class is around $280 trillion to $300 trillion. So that's all locked up. And so it's really hard to get access to. It's even harder for, young people like you. You got to if you're going to buy a house, you got to save up, like a crazy amount of money to put down. Or if you want to invest in properties, a lot of this stuff is only to accredited investors. So with real estate tokenization, it's going to make it easier for sponsors like me and real estate people like me to offer to you, high quality investments in commercial real estate. And so what that's going to do for you is, we all know how much volatility there is with the stock market. We know how much crypto goes up and down. Real estate has always been a much more stable business, and it's got natural cash flow. So if I've got tenants paying me rent, they're actually paying me rent. I've got cash flow. And it also has tax benefits. But the big thing is that it's really hard to find natural cash flow in crypto. I mean, people talk about staking and things like that, but it's dependent on a few things versus you've got the world's most proven asset class, which is real estate. You've had thousands of years of tenant-landlord relationships. You've got all this stuff out there. So I believe that everybody should have some exposure to real estate, even if you're an apartment renter. What's really cool about tokenization is that the sponsor could actually, issue shares in the property to people that are living in the property. So let's say I've got, a 100-unit apartment building, and I say, Federico, are you interested in investing in this? It's like, sure, I'll, take $100, $300. $500, $1,000 of shares. And you're not only paying rent, but you're paying rent to yourself and you're building equity.
Wow. That's the future right there. It's beautiful. It's so awesome to think about too, that now in the next couple of years is going to be more accessible for people like me, right? To be able to invest in commercial real estate. Because like you just said, most of the time it's accredited investors and it's a bunch of money that people that are starting off, it's very tough for us to get into that.
Right. And the other really cool thing is that you will not only, you'll be building up equity in those tokens. And so you're very familiar with the DeFi space, and there's like Aave and Compound and some of these things, and MakerDAO. And so you could actually potentially, if you get enough equity in there, let's say you get like $10,000 of equity in, you know, a number of tokens or something, you could actually put those in Aave or Compound. And if they're comfortable with the valuation of the asset, you could actually borrow up to 50% against that and use that to go out and buy some more tokens or go out and buy an actual building yourself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And just so my audience understands this a little better, right? When you, it's an ICO that you guys propose basically for people to invest in your fund, correct?
All right, so what we are doing is not ICOs.
Okay.
So if we were to do an ICO, the SEC and the federal government would come after us and say, no, you're selling securities illegally. So what we are doing are registered security tokens. So that's what you need to make sure, because there's a lot of tokenization. I shouldn't say a lot, but there's tokenization platforms out there that you can invest in them, but they're not doing things legally. And I worry that, you know, people are going to invest in them, and then the SEC is going to come along and fine them a lot of money, and then they go out of business, and then you lose your money in your tokens. So what we are doing is legally regulated security tokens. We're issuing securities exactly like you would in a normal syndication, except they're, you know, done under the auspices of the SEC, and it's done all legally. And, you know, we pay the money and have the attorneys do it. So that's the difference. And and that's the way things are going to go in the future in the United States, just because, you know, we have a pretty robust legal system here. And, you know, if you don't comply with it, there's other countries out there that are a little bit more loose, and you can invest in, you know, other things. And, you know, I do kind of like that experimentation. I'm kind of a guy that's like, you know, why can't it just be easier for Federico to invest in real estate? Why is it only for really rich people to invest in real estate? Why do they, you know? So I'm all about breaking down the barriers. And the one really cool thing about security tokens is if we do a normal syndication, it's available only to accredited investors. But after a 1-year lockup period, those tokens can trade to non-accredited investors. And so those can trade to average ordinary citizens. And the really cool thing about that is that you will have a 1-year track record as to how that, you know, investment is doing. So you can make a better informed decision. It's like, hey, this is paid out like 12 months in a row. You know, the price went up and all the rest of it. So I want to jump into this now.
Wow. There's so much to learn in this space right now, because I feel like it's changing consistently. And with regulations coming in, countries regulating, making laws on in regards to crypto. I know there was a lot of talks with that recent coin that went to zero pretty much. I forgot the name of it, but once that happened, the United States automatically Luna, right? There we go.
Luna, they were doing a stable coin.
Yeah. So once that happened, the United States was like, all right, we're going to regulate it. Do you think that once it's fully regulated, the crypto space will be more established and a better investment than it is right now?
I'm going to give you my true opinion. I really like the fact that there's good and bad parts of regulation.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that crypto just went out and didn't ask permission and figured out how to do these things and built this great new technology that is now. So let's talk about blockchain. Yeah. Blockchain is the same thing as the internet, only it's for value transfer. So just like you and I are doing this free over, you know, Zoom, and you're where you're at and I'm where I'm at, we've just collapsed the world, you know, with the internet. Blockchain is going to collapse the world in terms of finance. So I can send you instantaneously, or within a few seconds, I can send you money, I can send you value, or I can send you an asset. Within a few, the transaction goes through, boom. And right now, I can't do that. If I want to send you something, you know, in New York or Miami, I have to send a wire. or I have to go through PayPal, or I have to do something else.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of people versus just me and you transacting directly. So I really appreciate what the crypto community and the blockchain community has built. So I'm all for that. At the same time, with that comes a lot of scams, but I always say, whether it's regulated or not regulated, if you look at Bernie Madoff, he's right next to the SEC in New York. He's right next to all, the Fed and everything else. And he gets away with one of the largest Ponzi schemes, except for some of those crypto Ponzi schemes now. But, you're just always, you have to be aware of what you're investing in. So that's the key thing. No amount of regulation. I think sometimes regulation, a lot of investors say, oh, this is regulated, so it's safe for me. It's like, no, they just made disclosures, but they can still fraud you. So I go back to Luna. I didn't invest in Luna, and I know people that are really smart that did invest in Luna, but I went to a public school, so I don't know how to do math. And I couldn't figure out how the stable coin worked. And it's the same thing with Bitcoin. It took me a long time to figure out how Bitcoin works. I'm a big believer in Bitcoin now. And, I love Bitcoin. But with Luna and some of these other staking protocols, I'm like, how does it work? What's the amount of centralization? What are the controls? Can somebody just come in and like take this stuff and all the rest of it? And so that's, if I don't understand it, I'm not investing in it.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything you just said. And I love Bitcoin too. I love that he's decentralized. I love that there's limited supply and it's transparent, which is what we need nowadays, right? But
100%, we need more transparency.
Yeah, especially it's all on the blockchain. We can see everything that's being done. There's limited supply. I think that's crucial. And yeah, I love Bitcoin. I'm a big Bitcoin believer.
And that's the great thing about real estate tokens, because real estate is a tangible asset and there's a limited supply of it. So there's only one Manhattan, there's only one Miami Beach. So there's a bunch of land in other places that you wouldn't want to live, but if you're making a decision on investing in real estate, you're investing in scarcity too. So there's a natural scarcity because it's really hard to build more of it unless you're in Dubai and you like build out into the ocean.
Yeah. So much to learn, like I said earlier. And you were mentioning earlier how you guys are doing a real estate summit to basically explain and teach folks like me all of this.
Yeah, we created the Blockchain Real Estate Summit last year, and we're doing it again this year. It's September 23rd and 24th in Austin, Texas.
A month.
blockchainrealestatesummit.com.
Okay.
And it's primarily for real estate sponsors to learn how to issue tokens, but it's also a really good learning experience. If you're younger people, we had a lot of younger people there. We've actually got a student discount too, but last year we had a lot of younger people there, and they were in the room with high-powered people that were in the middle of this, like creating blockchains, actually like issuing tokens, the attorneys that could explain to you how to do it. And so it was a really great place to be. And I would recommend, if you're interested in investing in anything, go to conferences, because that's where online is great and, metaverse is great, but in person, real life stuff, you just like meet people in the hallway. Like I was just out at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas last month. And I'm walking through the hallway at Freedom Fest, and I don't know if you know who Mark Moss is, but you should look up Mark Moss. He's really good with Bitcoin, really good at explaining the new financial system and all the rest of it. And I'm just walking down the hallway and I'm like, hey, Mark, how's it going? Listen to you. And he said, I'm off to, do a podcast with the real estate guys. And I'm like, oh, they're friends of mine. So, but it's like, that would never happen if I was on a Zoom call at a Zoom conference,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm big on in-person events too. They slowed down a lot because of COVID, obviously, but now they're starting to pick up again. I'm doing Tony Robbins, Unleashing the Power Within here in West Palm Beach for the first time in person in 2 years.
That's good.
So yeah, I've been doing it online for the past 2 years because that's the only platform they had. And you're right, it's not the same. You don't get to communicate and network with the people, and like that's the whole goal of it too, meeting the like-minded people.
Well, and then just the energy in the room. I mean, especially with Tony Robbins, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, you're just gonna like come out of there and it's like a full immersion experience.
Yeah.
And I really, and listening to people so that if somebody's up there presenting on something and you can like kind of go up and say, hey, you know, I just heard what you said up there. You know, here's my business card. Can you let's set up something a little bit more? Can you know, how do I go? Who would I like? You know, are there masterminds that I could go to that you would recommend? All that stuff, which it, like I said, if it's a guest speaker on a Zoom conference, it's like, hi, I'm presenting. Hi, I'm gone.
Yeah. That is how it goes. Now, I do want to talk on the WeWork stuff later on, but I want to touch because my audience is primarily young men, 18 to 30-year-olds, like I mentioned earlier, looking to get into business, real estate, make money, be winners, right? And clearly you have a lot of experience. You've done well in commercial real estate. You're a winner in your field. For someone that's starting off, right? Let's say somebody graduating college, what would you recommend for them to do or the steps to take to get into real estate and potentially get into commercial real estate down the line?
Um, that's a really good question. I've got two sons. One's just graduated from college this year, and the other one graduated. You know, he's 25,
Nice.
and they're both in real estate.
Nice.
So, but I would say start learning now about real estate. So grab a book. I know a lot of people recommend the Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's another book that I would really recommend that if you're interested in learning about real estate, it's a Gary Keller book. It's the Millionaire Rich book or something like that, something millionaire, real estate investor. But Gary Keller also wrote The One Thing, and he also was founder of Keller Williams Real Estate.
Okay.
So he's a guy that really knows what he's talking about. So I would do that. I would also listen to, you know, some podcasts like, you know, two of my favorites are the Real Estate Guys and the Cash Flow Connections podcast. But it really depends on, you know, what type of real estate they want to get into.
For
So
sure.
the easiest way to get into real estate, but it's also hard, is how I started out and become a commercial real estate broker. Then there's also, you can, you know, if you've got like some sort of background and you can add value to somebody, like let's say, you know, you're in construction or something.
Mhm.
So you go to some of these, you know, real estate meetups, or you go to some of the syndication conferences or something like that. And you say, hey, I'm looking to get into real estate, and you know, I can do this, this, and that. So if you're looking for somebody that knows construction, I can walk the properties for you. I can do this. If you're looking for somebody that knows property management, you know, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're a guy that knows how to do a spreadsheet, and you can do analysis. So if you can figure out how to add value to somebody, you know, it's a way to work yourself into kind of an internship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did. I went on and I worked for an investor, and I started posting bandit signs on the streets every day for him, posting "We buy houses," and then they'd call him, and whenever they closed the deal, I'd get a check. I learned everything from him. Then I started doing it myself, and you grow, you learn, and I mean, if you're ambitious, you'll figure it out and you'll grow within it, of course. Now, when
So what's your next step though? Are you going to start like buying apartment buildings? I want to hear about, you know, what you're
so yeah, not there yet. That is my goal, to get to that level of buying apartment buildings and commercial real estate. Right
I know,
now,
but how are you going to do it right now? I want to know the next step right now.
the next step right now, it's me and my partner and I in Tampa. We wholesale, we flip, and we also buy rentals. So right now we closed on 2 rentals in Sarasota and St. Petersburg. The idea is to build our portfolio and start cash flowing monthly and build it and scale it through time, of course. But right now the game plan is to buy rentals.
I know you could also syndicate those too.
How so?
So you're buying like single family homes.
Single family homes, yes.
Yeah, and so you could just, you know, put together a syndication with, you know, and raise the money from friends and family, and you've got this great podcast here that, you know, you're a subject matter expert on Tampa, and you know what you're doing, and so just grow that and work with that.
Yeah, no, definitely that's in the work. right? Right now, we just bought 2 of these deals and we're buying them ourselves so we could cash flow and then start building ourselves and
I know,
have
but you can, and so that's why you asked me the question on how somebody should start, and so I'm going to pick on you a little bit.
okay, that's fine. I love it.
You could 10x your growth
Okay.
by, and get a track record so that you could move on to apartment buildings, shopping centers, or office buildings or something, by taking what you've got now on the next one and raising some money through friends and family or through your podcasts and say, hey, Federico, I got, this great deal in Tampa. This is what we think it's going to do and all the rest of it. And so you want to like get involved with, like, there's groups out there that will teach you how to do syndication, so there's network groups out there. There's coming up in Dallas is the Secrets of Syndication conference, which is really great for new people. And it's an expensive conference, but it's comprehensive. It's 2 days. So that's what I'm saying. The next level and the growth path for people that want to get into it is do exactly what you did. You got to put in the elbow grease and all the rest of it. And you're taking the next steps to differentiate yourself because you've got, the podcast and you've got, all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. We're in the works with that, right? And we've thought about it. It's definitely one of those things where you just got to do it and not have that scarce mindset that what if, what happens. And
I'm gonna hold you to it, and I'm gonna call you in 3 months and see where you're at and when your next raise is gonna be.
I love it. Keep me accountable. I mean, to think too, because I do have the connections for it. For example, my girlfriend's dad, he's the CEO of a commercial real estate company here, and he runs a syndication. So I have the people that I could ask and get mentored by. It's just doing it. So you're right. You've definitely motivated me to do it. This feels like a coaching call now.
All right, I would, I'm just going to tell you, I would be taking him out for coffee and beer a lot more.
Yeah, if he's probably gonna listen to this at some point, he's gonna be like, "Hey, man, yeah, you probably should." My girlfriend's listening outside. She's like, "Yeah, you should."
Yeah. So I would say, hey, I'm interested in your daughter, and these are my intentions, but I'm also interested in dating you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right, and it's something too where it's. My partner and our families and friends have reached out, and I've seen what we're doing already. And they're like, "Hey, we'd like to spend some money or invest some money with you guys." So it's there. It's just about doing it. That's the next step.
You guys have the market knowledge, and that's why I'm just, and I'm sorry that, I'm not picking on you, but if you guys have the market knowledge and you've shown that you know how to do this and you've done the work, that's, a little bit of a track record, and people are looking for good deals, and people are looking for something secure to invest in. And I'm not saying every real estate investment is secure, but if let's say they've got the choice between, they can put their money in a Vanguard fund. They don't know any of those CEOs. They don't know what Vanguard is telling them to do, and all the rest of it. Or I can put $5,000 with you, and I know that if something, I can call you up and say, hey, how's this going?
Yeah.
And what's the market, all the rest of it. So I would rather put my money on you than any number of the Fortune 500 CEOs, who I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. After this, I'm going to hop on a call with my partner and we're going to get this going. And in 3 months, I will send you an email letting you know we've raised our first syndication fund to buy
What's
commercial
the name of your company?
FCREA Holdings.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
So we did it FC because we both played soccer. We both like Barcelona, so FC Barcelona. And then REA, it was just usually with real estate, REA, and we just did it like that. But yeah, it's up and coming. We're growing. We're at these 2 properties. We just closed on them, so we're excited for that. But enough about me. Let's continue with you.
I'm sorry.
What the audience wants to hear. So, in your opinion, Michael, 10 years from now, the real estate deals will be primarily done through the blockchain, you'd say?
I'm not going to make that prediction. I'm saying a lot of money is going to be raised for real estate deals on blockchain. Okay. I don't know if a lot of people think of real estate and they think that, oh, I'm going to be able to buy a house on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. And when you hear these announcements about people buying houses on the blockchain, it's really you're buying a an LLC that's connected to the title. So the real problem with a lot of real estate, especially residential real estate, is it's highly regulated. There's the banks involved, there's all kinds of county recorders involved and everything else. So I'm not sure in 10 years we're going to see houses trading like that. I think eventually they will, because there's no reason not to have every title for every property on a blockchain, so you can actually see it. The main problem is there's title insurance companies, there's county recorders, there's bureaucrats and everybody else that if you put that all on the blockchain, a lot of those jobs are going to go away. And so that's what the problem is that there's a lot of incumbent industries that don't want to be disintermediated. They don't want to be taken out of the equation. So they're going to fight really hard to stay there. What most economies and most governments don't understand is when these new industries start up, they usually create way more jobs than the jobs that they were protecting. So let's look at, carriages or horses and buggies and stuff like that. I mean, the, car industry is like billions and trillions of dollars. It's way more than carriages ever could have been.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And so that's why but I do think that one of the best ways of raising capital, and probably most of the ways raising capital, are all going to go on blockchain, and you're going to be able to buy just like you could on your Robinhood app. You're going to pull up and I'm going to say, oh, I know this guy Federico, and he's got this really kick-ass, single family home portfolio in Tampa, and I can buy $500 of that. And me and you are having a beer and you say, oh, let me pull that up. It's like, oh, I know that guy too. And so we both buy $500, because we're at a, bar talking, or we're at a cocktail party or whatever. And I think that's the way a lot of real estate is going to be done. And I also believe, like we're going to talk about Adam Newman with his new company Flow.
Let's transition there.
Yeah. One of the things that, I've been talking about for 2 years now is, number one, tokenization of real estate. A lot of people don't have enough money to buy real estate, and so they're going to be renters. So if you're a renter and you could be offered, a token, like let's say $500 or some sort of inducement to invest in the property that you're renting, you're paying rent, but you're actually paying towards your own investment in your own ownership. So you're paying yourself rent. So that's going to be a great thing. And then, as you know, in certain areas like Tampa and California and stuff like that, in New York, it's really hard to get zoning for certain things, or it's really hard to build, apartment buildings and stuff. So what if you could, as part of your fundraising, offer people in the neighborhood and potential renters a chance to own a piece of the property and make it's way easier. Right now, I would have to say, okay, here's the documents, read the legal documents, sign the DocuSign and all the rest of it. If I could just have it all automated and buy into that and say, hey, we're building this building and everybody in the neighborhood is eligible for discounted shares, and everybody that's going to rent in the building is eligible for discounted shares, you're going to see a lot more progress towards getting rid of this housing problem.
I agree. Now that we transition to Adam Newman with this Flow $350 million raised, is that the route he's going to take?
I really don't know what Adam Newman is doing. What I do know is that he tried, as part of WeWork, he tried to create WeLive. And I have heard people talk about one of the things, but there's also other things that you could do with tokenization that really work great with real estate. Like, especially if you're creating you want to create a national brand for, let's say you have these two houses, and then all of a sudden you create a national brand of renting in houses. You could do NFTs as, kind of like airline miles or credit card things, where people can build up, as part of paying rent on time and all the rest of it. They build up these credits that can be used for other things like discounts. You create community, or let's say that, it's a community that you own all the houses in the community and there's a central, so it's like, okay, we'll throw parties, we'll do ticketing, we'll do all kinds of stuff. So you can build in all kinds of things with utility tokens. In addition, you can have some sort of ownership tokens too. So, and there's people that are way more, creative than I am that are going to come up with any type of like really cool ideas to make real estate more accessible, more fun, and more useful.
That's great. And I honestly, thank you for explaining that, because now it opened my eyes to the possibilities and the endless possibilities really of how creative real estate can get and how attractive it could get, especially to regular Joes that don't have the money to invest on it right now. That's awesome. And it's cool
I think, for wealth building, just the fact that tokenization, because as we were talking about before with like larger funds, and we've done a lot of institutional real estate, larger institutions like pension funds and institutional owners like insurance companies and stuff, they don't want to stroke a check for $1 million. They want to stroke a check for $50 million because they have to get, so for example, Andreessen Horowitz, they have such a large fund that they have to make large investments. They're not like a really small startup venture capital fund. So they have these, and Blackstone is the same thing. It's like they need to deploy so much capital that it's much easier if they can deploy more money rather than less money. So, but the great thing about, tokenization is that it's going to allow smaller people and, smaller investors to generate wealth and to create wealth on their own versus I'm going to have all my wealth tied up in my house. So if you could buy a portfolio and pay $500 to be in, let's say, the Empire State Building and $500 to be in, any number of great, apartment complexes down in Tampa, and you can buy an office building in Austin, Texas, and you've got a diversified portfolio, that's going to be way better than having, $50,000 or $100,000 of equity in one house.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again,
for most people,
for sure. No, the opportunities are endless. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see where this space is heading and everything that's evolving within it. It's awesome. It's cool. It's the future now. But Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. So much learned today, and my audience is going to be so grateful for this. We're going to try to get you on a second episode, hopefully down the line, so they could learn more, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to talk about, but
hey, we could do the follow-up episode, and that's when I'll interview you and see where you're at with your syndication business.
That sounds good. 3 months from now, we'll do that. But Michael, where can my audience find you on social media, or do you have a website?
I'm on Instagram. I'm sorry, I don't know what my Instagram handle is.
It's okay. It'll be on the notes. I just typically ask.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. So they can find me on there. A little bit on Facebook. We have the Blockchain Real Estate Summit.com, which is our main event. And they can also find us at libertyfund.io. That's libertyfund.io. There's a lot of information there, and they can get a free report on, real estate tokenization and, how it's going to improve access to real estate.
Guys, and I'll put this on the notes as well. Definitely going to follow that. Definitely going to look into the country you were mentioning and potentially look into that real estate summit. Michael, thank you once again, and I'll talk to you in 3 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really mean to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, business, mindset, and real estate. If you are just like me and you want to crack the code to victory, then Winning Ways Podcast is made for you.